Hello, friends, and welcome. My name is Dana Bristol Smith with Leap to Success, and you are here for self-care in stressful times. And I'm not sure if you're seeing me or not because my screen is completely black. So if you are, go ahead and put something in the chat and tell me that my camera is on and that you can see me. Alyssa, who provides our technical assistance, is not with us today. Okay, thank you. Someone says you can't see me. So let me go ahead and see. How's this? Can you see me now? I feel like this is a Verizon commercial. Yes. Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you. It's so funny. We're taking on these new challenges in using Zoom and handling the controls with Alyssa gone today. And I pulled one of these, which are power thought cards that always give me some inspiration. And it's so funny because this one today says, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do." So here we all are. And I know that being in the midst of this pandemic, we are all doing things that we think we cannot do. We're homeschooling our children, we're juggling things like we've never juggled before, and we're showing up in new ways. So today we are exploring Navigating Transitions Part 2. We are diving into the wisdom of Bruce Feiler from his book, Life is in the Transitions, that I highly recommend. It is available in hardback. It just came out in July, and it's also on Audible, I just learned. So if you like to listen to your books, it's there. And Bruce interviewed more than 200 people for his Life Story Project. He read more than 300 books and studied more than 700 academic articles to come up with the ways that people navigate transitions and the tools that they use and the wisdom that they've learned. So we're going to be diving into some of those tools today. For all of you who are just joining us, my name is Dana Bristol Smith with Leap to Success. We're a women's empowerment organization based in Carlsbad, California. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to my co-host now, Kelly Grimes.
Thank you so much, Dana. I'm so glad that we navigated that transition of having the ability to be seen. I'm not sure I'm being seen right now, so we're just going to flow with it. And I am just delighted to be here. I'm delighted also to serve as the Director of Community Engagement for Leap to Success and have these ways every week of connecting with our participants, with our donors, with our community partners, and the wider world. So grateful to be here with you today and really looking forward to learning more tools around navigating transitions.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And we could see you, so that was terrific. And somebody said we can see your big smile. So that's just beautiful. I think what we'll go ahead and do now in the way that we start all of these webinars is we give ourselves a moment to pause. And we offer you a mindfulness practice because we know that many of you who are on this call are taking your lunch break. And today is Monday, so lots going on. We kind of get it from all different directions. So it's a really good moment to pause. And I'm going to invite Kelly to guide us through a mindfulness practice. So here's Kelly.
Thank you so much, Dana. I think before we do that, we are going to reflect on our current level of stress. So if I may, I'm going to launch a poll and just see where people are at today. It's such a beautiful practice of recognizing where we are, doing some mindfulness practice, and then reflecting again on where we are. So I am going to launch that and invite our participants to rate their current level of stress. I thank you all so much for participating. It's just a really interesting snapshot of where we're at. And I think it's helpful for us to know. It can be very normalizing if you're experiencing a lot of stress to see, if others are as well. And so I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to then share the results with you. So it looks like today, we have this continuum, and I've noticed we have this continuum of some people at higher levels. It looks like the highest level we have is 8, which is great because we've had a couple of times where people were at a 10, and that really moved our hearts with lots of compassion for those folks. It looks like the average is about 6. We have about between 4 and 8, and the majority at 6. So thank you for showing up today. Thank you for prioritizing your self-care and time to nurture yourself. And since we're exploring the idea of navigating transitions, I'm going to invite you to bring a lot of awareness to transitions as we experience this mindfulness practice. So I'm going to invite you just to settle into wherever you're seated. Feel the support coming up from underneath you. Allow your feet to be firmly placed on the ground, and imagine for you that you are just pausing to simply show up for yourself, not for anyone else. Just to really take a pause and reflect on how you're doing. So I love mindfulness practice in that we bring a spirit of curiosity and non-judgment to ourselves. So let's take a few deep breaths in and out, just kind of noticing how it feels to fill up our lungs, and then how it feels to release. Now for the next few breaths, I want you to pay special attention to the transition between the in-breath and the out-breath. Notice the coolness of the breath going in through your nose, and maybe the transition of the warmth as you exhale. I want you to bring awareness to your body now. And notice any sensations you're experiencing in this moment. Any experiences of tension or tightness. Any experiences of any pain or discomfort. See if you can find any place in your body that you don't have any sensation at all. And notice the transition of awareness of sensation within you. When you bring more awareness, sometimes more shows up. Maybe you've been ignoring that nagging pain in your hip or the tension you're holding in your shoulders. And as you bring your awareness to that, notice that you can touch in with compassion, with tenderness, with loving kindness to whatever shows up for you. And you can also choose to release your awareness of that and come back to your breath. Now I invite you to bring your awareness to your thoughts. See if you can just be a curious observer of what is showing up in your thinking in this moment. Notice if there's any changes when you bring your awareness. Notice what you experience and not chasing after the thought, but rather just observing it. Almost like you would clouds in the sky, with interest, but not clinging to anything. Now I invite you to release awareness of your thoughts and come back to your breath again. Your breath is this beautiful reminder of your capacity to let go, of your capacity to invite in new experiences. Each time we bring awareness to our in-breath, it's like we're inviting in a new awareness or opportunity. And each time we bring awareness to our exhale or our out-breath, we are intentionally letting go. These are such important parts of the transition process. It's the parts sometimes we get stuck in. So I invite you to place your hand on your heart and remind yourself of your capacity with each breath to let go of what doesn't serve you and invite in a new opportunity. With each breath, you have an opportunity to pay attention and notice what's happening for you so that you can make a nurturing choice for yourself. With each in-breath and out-breath, you can ground yourself in the storm of whatever transition you're in and remind yourself that this too shall pass, that you have the strength and the courage and the resilience and the creativity to navigate whatever transition you're in. Breathe into the gratitude, breathe into the confidence and the belief in yourself that you can navigate this transition, whatever transition you are experiencing in this moment. I want to share with you a beautiful quote as we end from Thich Nhat Hanh. He reminds us that 24 brand new hours are before me. I vow to live in each moment and to look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. I invite you to start with having eyes of compassion for yourself in this process, and then to expand it out, recognizing that we're all going through a life quake right now. And the more confident, the more grounded, the more nurtured we are, the more capacity we have to share a sense of resilience and a sense of belief that we are all going to get through this, right? And that we're in community and that we can support each other in the process. So I thank you so much for practicing these moments of mindfulness with me. And I hand it over to Dana to share some more wisdom.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. I feel refreshed now. That was just great. That was just great. So today we're taking a deeper dive into managing transitions and the different strategies and tools that people use as they go through them. Bruce Feiler defines transitions like this. A transition is a vital period of adjustment, creativity, and rebirth that helps one find meaning after a major life disruption. Now, Bruce also came up with a term, and Kelly used it just a moment ago. And the term that he came up with is life quake. And he describes it like this: a forceful burst of change in one's life that leads to a period of upheaval, transition, and renewal. We're certainly experiencing that now, because whatever challenges we had before the pandemic is now laying on top of those. Bruce also describes the 3 stages of moving through transitions. And the first he calls the long goodbye. The second is the messy middle. And I want you just to envision this messy middle that we are all in. We're certainly in the messy middle of the pandemic. There's no clear end date to it. We're scrambling, many different people and organizations are working on vaccines. There's trials going on right now, but there's all the fear and uncertainty of the pandemic. There's the political climate, as we are less than a month away now from the election. And there's also this period of social unrest, racial injustice, all kinds of things being brought to a head right now. And if that doesn't sound like the messy middle of a situation, I don't know what would. The third stage of the transition is called the new beginning. And I know that we are all really hopeful for new beginnings in our lives in lots of different ways. But his findings are something that we can all learn from. And today we're specifically going to be looking at 4 tools that people use to navigate through these times of transition. He explained that there's actually 7 tools, and people don't necessarily use all of them, and they don't use them in order. But he came up with 7. Today we're going to explore 4 of them, and next week we're going to dive into the final 3. So here's the first one that we're going to talk about now, and it is to accept the situation. Now, that's not easy when we're experiencing difficulty and upheaval because we want to fight against it. We're not comfortable. We're not certain. So we want to think about all different ways that, maybe this isn't happening. So maybe we're in denial about the situation. And I know we see that demonstrated with how a lot of people are handling the pandemic. But here's the first thing with accepting the situation is to identify your emotions. What are you feeling about it? Are you feeling afraid? Are you feeling sad? Are you feeling angry about it? Are you feeling that you just can't deal with or accept? So identifying our emotions really helps us separate what we're feeling from what the situation is. So that's the first thing, accept the situation. The second tool is to mark the change. And by marking it, he means to ritualize the change. Now, people create rituals as ways to mark change for all kinds of reasons. They can range from, how we celebrate birthdays, how we celebrate milestone events, new jobs, how we celebrate when someone retires. But think about the transition that we're all in right now. And what's a way that we can ritualize it? Maybe there's a certain milestone that's coming up in your life. I went to a special event a year ago that was for nonprofit leaders from all over the country. And we got to create, and as I was looking at this, these bracelets, and we were able to choose, the words that we wanted, and then we got to pound them in to this little brass fitting. And on mine, I chose the word love, and I put 2 hearts on either side of it. And it reminds me of this time where I was together with 100 leaders from all across the country. I felt inspired, I felt empowered, and it was in the beautiful hills of Vermont. So when I look at this bracelet, I remember that time that marked kind of a new beginning in my role as leader of an organization and my role as part of another organization with leaders from across the country. So what Bruce mentions is that ritualizing the change can include creating keepsakes and ways to remind us of what was. And we could even hold ceremonies to mark the end of something and the beginning of something else. Other activities can be expressing yourself creatively. Some people explore it through dancing, through praying. Some people mark change by getting a tattoo. Now, I'm not one of those people, but I know some of them, and each major life change is marked by a certain illustration on their body. Some people go on really adventurous events like skydiving, and something that brings meaning to the change. By ritualizing the change and marking it, it actually creates kind of a container that we can hold it and hold on to the experience. And rituals are acts of meaning. You know, I know that when I look at this bracelet, it reminds me of being in those beautiful hills of Vermont in fall and seeing greenery all around me and seeing an incredible community of people and looking at this and seeing the word love. And it really just touches my heart and soul. So rituals are really powerful. They also restore a sense of agency, a sense of that we are the person making choices in our lives. They also accentuate belonging and cause really powerful things in our lives. And during changes like this, sometimes we feel stripped of those experiences. Okay, so that was the second tool, was to mark the change. Now the third tool is to shed old ways, to give up old mindsets. And this usually happens right now in the messy middle of what we're experiencing, where it's a letting go of routines that no longer work for us, letting go of ways of being that don't work for us. I know that, you know, many of us have gained weight during the pandemic. So letting go of maybe a behavior that is not serving us, like eating maybe, or drinking, or doing something excessively that really was not healthy. We can be in a place now where we can be more aware of it, and we can make conscious choices to help us move through it by letting go. It could also be letting go of beliefs that we hold, delusions, that we think things are different the way they are. So we have to let go of old ways and think about animals for a minute, and think about animals that molt, other animals that shed their skins, feathers or shells, the snail that crawls out of the shell and finds the larger one, the hermit crab that does the same. We have to let go of the old in order to invite the new things, in order to invite new people, new relationships, and new routines in. So that was number 3, shedding old ways, letting go. Now the 4th tool is to create and to try new things. And people have started turning to creativity during this time. I know a lot of people are cooking and using new recipes, finding new ways to find joy in a difficult time. So maybe expressing themselves with dancing, with singing, with painting, with writing, with taking on playing a musical instrument. It's a wonderful time to endeavor to take a class, to do something that stretches you. You know, in times when we feel constrained and restricted, this energy of creation is really, really powerful. Now, often, you know, people who are facing adversity often suffer from social exclusion, a sense of being alone, being ostracized. And we've certainly experienced this through the pandemic, with people being isolated, you know, physically isolated, not able to be with their loved ones, not able to be with their friends, not able to hug people. So we really start feeling out of sync. And these attitudes and these feelings also can give people more freedom to take risks, to experiment, to explore means of expressing themselves, maybe in different ways than they would before. I know we've all learned to be on Zoom, to have meetings like this that kind of fulfill our need for social interaction. But what's really interesting is that a study of people who were living with long-term illnesses, um, people who had long-term illnesses who turned to art, found that their experience of facing hardship sharpened their perceptions and increased their sensitivity and stoked their desire to address deep issues in their lives, to really make meaning of the difficulty and the illness that they were experiencing. So this can be a time of incredible creativity. I know for myself, I've taken up watercolor painting, something I've always wanted to do, and I really never made the time for it. I've found all kinds of videos on YouTube that have taught me to draw and to paint things that I hadn't done before. So I'm feeling this sense of creativity, and I'm wondering if you're noticing new creativity in your lives. And if you are, I'm going to ask you to please share it in the chat. So share a creative way that you are adjusting to the pandemic. And go ahead and put this in the chat for us so we can see. You know, my way has been, as I mentioned, art. My husband plays music, and he's spending more time at his keyboard composing new music. But what about you? What are you experiencing? And I'm looking in the chat to see if there's ways that you are exploring your creativity now. Here's someone who's mentioning cooking new recipes. That's a really fun way to explore creativity and be healthy and really be mindful of what you're eating. But what other ways? And Kelly, I'm wondering if you'd like to come back on and share any ways that you're exploring creativity. And I see now some other ways. I'll mention these and then ask you, Kelly. I see someone has said creative flower bouquets. Well, that's a beautiful way. Someone else is learning a new language. That's wonderful. And what about for you, Kelly?
Well, I love to create love notes. My husband and I do a lot of painting, and then we go and we leave them just around to continue to inspire other people's creative ideas. So I've seen lots of things like that, painted rocks. I've seen signs in places. I've seen creativity just really expand. And in my neighborhood, we've been doing concerts, socially distanced concerts, every single Saturday at 5 p.m. since the pandemic began. And there's been so much creativity that's flourished as a result.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I see someone else has said they've started cooking different recipes. Someone else is doing more gardening, planting new flowers, and even joined a Facebook cooking group. And new recipes, including baking bread. Now, I've always wanted to bake bread. I have not done that yet. Maybe what I'm afraid of is if I bake it, I'm going to eat it all in a day because I love bread. Someone else has said she's learning to do illustrations that she makes and doing t-shirts and coffee mugs and stickers. Yeah, there's all kinds of beautiful ways that people are being creative. Well, I'm so glad that you were with us today. So glad. And I'm going to ask Kelly to go ahead and put up our final poll because we want to see if being with us for these 30 minutes has helped you reduce your stress. So we'll have this up for 30 seconds or so. So go ahead and please rate your current level of stress. And oh, they're coming in much lower. This is really nice. You know, one thing that I've noticed with doing the watercolors and painting, it's just so nice to get out of my head, to get out of my thinking, to get out of my planning mode, which I'm in a lot of the time. But this has been great. Well, it looks like the majority of people are now at a level 3. That's really significant because we started with most folks up at a 6. So that's great to see your stress levels reduce. So I'm so glad that you were with us today, and I hope that you will be with us next week too. And Kelly, why don't you close us and tell folks what we have in store for them next week?
Yes, I am so thrilled that we are going to have a guest speaker, a guest with us, a special guest, and she will be a graduate of our Transformation Leadership Program. And she's going to talk to us about how she has used all of the tools she's learned to really have an amazing transformation and a resilient rebound in her life, uh, following really a lot of the things that you shared today that are woven into what we teach in our Transformation Leadership Program. So it's going to be really inspiring. I invite you all to be here. Continue to go back and listen to other of our episodes. You can find it on our website, leap2success.org, as well as our YouTube. And if you're our Facebook friends, you'll see them all there on our Leap to Success Facebook page. And I hope you'll share that. We really want to just be of service in the community and have more and more people feel empowered and inspired. So we hope that you will join us. Be safe and well. Thank you.